Overwatch? Hello? There we go. Now it's capturing. Hey everyone! Said I was gonna be back later in the day, and here I am. I always get a little messed up with how many tabs I need to leave open for VOD reviews, but yeah, we always find a way around. So, we have, I think, 3 VODs, 2 or 3 VODs remaining to get to. Now, let me see which rank they are. So, one of them is Diamond, and I already just write that, because one of them is one that are possibly gonna be doing on a call, which I'm already just gonna pre-set up. Gonna already have that pre-set up, and one of them is one of the codes that I have already done from that player today, so I possibly won't get to that VOD. Also because they told me, they sent another VOD because they thought that it was better than this one, so I'll reserve this one if we need extra VODs on another VOD review day, and if the patch that comes out to transition us between event and no event don't wipe the replay codes, right? And then we get to that VOD. And they also have another one, which is console, on gold. Most of the ones that are here are PC. Yeah, the ones that I did this morning, or not this morning, but earlier today, were all diamond VODs. Or not diamond VODs, PC VODs. Also, I think, let me do one thing real fast. Huh. That's interesting. I didn't know. I thought that if you didn't give someone permission to react to in Discord text chat, they couldn't react at all, but if someone that can react in that chat reacted, then you can actually add your own reaction. Which I guess does the job for me. It's just interesting to know that that's how it works. But yeah, I'm gonna be, I don't know if I should be waiting on the player that asked me to do the VOD review on this stream, or if I should simply do the ones that were submitted to me through the Google Forms, which are gonna be people that most likely won't be joining the Discord call. Like people that would rather have me just do the VOD review like this, just me talking, not talking to someone else. Which is fine, I just find the call more productive. Or simply people that don't have a Discord account, which happens. And it's completely fine as well. Not gonna make having Discord a requirement, so since everyone has a Google account, right? If you're... I mean, I don't know, do you need to have a Google account to join a YouTube stream or something like that, or can you do that without it? Because for example, Twitch, you can just log on anonymously, or not log on, but you just open a tab and you don't have to log in to be able to watch. You need to have an account to be able to chat. I don't know if that's how it works on YouTube. Like, can you watch without being logged into a Google account, or are you required to have a Google account to be able to actually use YouTube at all? I would guess that actually you don't need to, because whenever you open an anonymous YouTube tab, you don't necessarily need to log in to actually watch anything. Yeah, you don't need to. I just opened my own stream, Jack. You don't need to. I'm gonna be monitoring this from on Discord, so I'm not gonna be watching my own thing on the YouTube studio. Just gonna remember about the rank. I'm just gonna be playing some customs until we have the VOD to do. Otherwise, if I wait here for a bit and there is no response, right? So that we're gonna be doing a call for the VOD review, then I'm just gonna get to the ones that were submitted from the Google forums. Alright, so I think the people on Discord that they're aware of the stream and they're aware of the VOD reviews, so I'm just gonna be chilling in some customs. Let me see. Aim Arena. Let's see, 1k damage. Yeah, that's good enough. Pretty sure this is not a boss orb, yep. I got him. Oh really? No, no. Stop from somewhere. Rip. That's also not a boss orb. Wow. No new news. And of course I'm a dumbass and forgot that I was gonna swap heroes. Of course, I'm the first target. Not even gonna visor because I wanna do tracking. I haven't done tracking in a bit because I've mostly not been playing FPS. I pressed 45. Thank diff. But yeah, I was expecting my aim to be worse than it currently is. For the amount of time that I've been putting into FPS lately. Which is honestly a good sign for mouse acceleration. helping with consistency, right? Bye, Widow. Lol. He just disappeared. I didn't shoot. I flicked, but I didn't shoot. Oh, I should not have released. I should have waited for him to rave. And bye. The dragon got enough damage that it transformed. Wow, I actually got the Bastion and it didn't finish me off. I'm surprised. I should not freeze, right? Yeah. I didn't. I kind of wanted to just melee someone. Wait, I'm falling off. Okay. Stabbed back in time. Also, I need healing. Let's get some healing going on. Yo, what's up, Hanzo? What's up? I do find it funny how he's transforming and I can still boop him. Oh, really? Okay, I guess I transformed. That's the third time that I'm falling off the map when I'm transforming. Should stay alive as long as he misses, but he didn't. He died for it though. Let me get the Pharah. Took longer than it should, but I haven't tamed in a bit, so I'm honestly fine with my performance. What is she doing? Flashbang, funny. No, I'm not fitting to the boss diva. But I'm power driving off of the boss diva. Wait, what? How does that work? I'm living. You better not think that I died from that. I wanted to get the boop off because the meteor strike has knockoff, but I guess I didn't get to do it. Rip. Why can he swing at that distance? Bye, Cassidy. And probably by Lucio. Bye, Roadhog. Of course his spawn's in there. I got to farm on him. I'm fine with that. Or never mind, he's already dead. Huh. Let's see. Got an answer in Discord. Replace. Let me check what the new code is. Import. Match loaded. Another Blizzard World match. Nublets. This is Platinum. Platinum. Yeah, Blizzard World, Platinum. This is right. Let me do this. So, I mean, you have swapped names a lot, but are you here? Oh, you're 56 below. Can you go? Yeah. Since you asked to do it now, or rather, you asked to do it later. You asked to do it on the second stream, yeah. Just join if you wanna join voice call, then go to voice chat /Q and I'll pull you into the channel that I'm using, the voice channel that I'm using for the live stream. Your VOD was Diamond. So I need to swap this back. Diamond. Is that right? Yep. Alright, so Diamond, and your VOD is on Numbani with the name Scarecrow. Diamond with the name Scarecrow. Which one of these Numbani matches is you? I guess I just got the correct one. Huh. Perfect. This saves me a lot of trouble of having to search between all of those. Hello?
Yo.
How are you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Doing great. Just ate dinner, then I'm gonna be doing these reviews and heading to sleep.
Yeah, bro, I just got off work, bro.
Alright, so can you see the stream that I'm doing on Discord?
It's like frozen.
You can choose between watching this or the stream, but the stream has delay, so that's why I'm displaying it on Discord as well. If you want me the information on the screen to be at the same time you hear my voice.
Yeah, I got it open, it's just frozen.
Okay.
I might have to just watch the stream. Wait, no, it's good, it's good.
Alright. So this match is almost at Masters. Have you reached Masters before?
Yeah, I've been to Masters a couple times, but like I kind of like play like real sporadically. Like I'll play like 2 weeks go crazy and I'll stop playing for like 3. I
Uh,
just do that over and over.
yeah, I can understand you. Right now I'm trying to take a break from FPS in general. I've tried Apex, but Apex is something that I burn out of very fast.
Yeah.
And your Winston fed. We're gonna quickly go back here. A little further. So, air composition, after like 15 seconds in the match, you can press tab and see the whole enemy composition, don't need necessarily see them all. You can already note that your team composition is better, theoretically, than the enemy. Like, Doom is rough into them, but your composition makes more sense overall, right?
Yeah.
And Hog used Hook. Ideally, obviously, in this situation, the Winston jumps in instead of just bubbling main and stuff, but especially when you have like Brig, Zen, any character that can pocket you without much thought put into it, you can be playing this position a little more aggressively. Especially now that you saw the hook on the left side.
So like I would like go on the hog, or I'd be like further on the right high ground. Like,
yeah, like you're playing a little passively over here. I think that you could be holding corner, and I think that simply going back into the corner is gonna be more effective and give you more uptime than dropping back and forth, which is good in some cases, but especially when you have the pocket from the Ana from main, and she's basically uncontested, and your brick packs as well. You should turn down the music down a bit. I turned it down 2 decibels from what it used to be. I can turn it down more if you think it would be better to do so. Let me turn it down 2 more decibels. Alright. What I was saying is, with basically like you can expect the Brig to support you in here, and maybe the Ana. And since the Hog is on the left side, he used Hook. The Torb is on the left side as well, and you shouldn't expect him to be getting that much damage in, at least consistently on you at this range. You can be playing this position more aggressively, and picking this corner is going to be more effective for you than dropping back and forth.
yeah, okay.
But this is like just a small optimization. Now the big thing is, obviously here you back out, your Winston end up feeding. But let me go back real quick. One thing here is that since you dropped all the way to stabilize your health instead of trying to hold a corner where the enemy couldn't actually damage you, and you have to obviously be careful of the Hog, but if it doesn't have Hook then you can just sit here. This means that when the Winston engage the backline, or not necessarily the backline, but when he engage the high ground, which is what you want to be doing, you should be there with him, right? So in this moment there is a disconnect between you and the Winston, and of course the Zarya is also a little late. But you can see that the moment that you try to go in, your Winston already got kind of roughed up. So you lose a little bit of an opportunity to actually get your play done in there. Alright, sounds good to me. Ooh, and that's a very good anti. Nice. It's unfortunate you had to reload, but it happens. And your Winston is already back. Honestly, this is good. What you're doing right now is pretty good. You're not feeding to the enemy team, and you are just holding the high ground position, which is a position where the enemy can't really contest you. And dog fed. Alright, sorry, I'm gonna go back because I was answering Discord. One thing that I'm noticing here is that you're poking a lot when you're basically on ult, and obviously it's better if you can have your ultimate and you don't have to use the nano to farm the ultimate on the spot. But I would argue there are better things to be doing with all of this time. Because I went back 20 seconds and you're still holding the same position. Right? So, back 20 seconds and you're still at this exact corner. You could be trying to use this time to simply sneak into a position that gives you an opportunity to make a play. Right? Instead of sitting idly around, which isn't necessarily bad. I'm just talking optimization here. You poking here and trying to hold this corner, which is a common corner for teams to fight, and after the payload get to this corner, the enemy team basically doesn't have a good recontest if they lose a fight. So trying to hold this corner is okay, but I would argue that you can maybe get more push if you simply try to look for an opportunity. So let's say you hold here and try to see when the enemy pushes, so that you get the access to the backline for free without having to commit your dash. Or you just try to hold the high ground, which is also a really important position. And if the enemy has this high ground, then it's really tough for your team to properly contest it. Instead of just sitting idly on this truck. Does that make any sense? Or
yeah. So like I'm not like playing terribly, but like I could be doing more.
This doesn't feel. I don't think that it is about like playing terribly or not. I feel like this is just you playing on autopilot, which I do sometimes too. Everyone does. Where one thing that it is a good habit to develop is to notice when you are when you're like sitting in a position for too long. So in this case, you have been sitting here and not doing basically anything because the enemy team is not in a position for you to do much from this position. And you're not gonna be getting anything from this position for the next a few seconds that you can predict, because the enemy backline is still moving into position. So it's not like you're gonna need to suddenly be ready to be holding some your position for some reason, or being ready to go back to cover if the enemy ults or whatever. So whenever there is downtime like this and you feel lost, and you just default to a play, obviously it's better to default to a play like this, so just holding a position and poking out. But these are the types of moments where if you can realize that you have this massive amount of downtime because you just cleared the fights. So for example, you got a stagger on the Roadhog, so it's unlikely that the enemy will take any fights for maybe even half a minute. Then this is prime time for you to look to set up. Look at this Doomfist, for example. He took the downtime between the fights to set up in a pincer. So when the enemy pushes corner, if they do, the Doomfist just has free access to the backline while you were sitting main. So this is the difference. He properly used this downtime between fights, right?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And this blade is probably gonna give you guys the cap, I would expect. Because the enemy team is also trying to peel. You not only got 2 kills, and they tried to ult for you, but you also got the attention of a bunch of players. And clutch duel. But yeah, even if you lose the duel with the Cassidy, the idea of the duel is still very good because he's not gonna be able to touch from it. And the Diva as well that will back it out. You forcing her to, if that was the decision, would also be good because she's not gonna be touching. But one thing that I'm gonna comment on this Nanoblade though is, let me quickly go a little bit further back. Your Nano was a little bit. Your Ana was a little bit late on the Nano. But as you can see, this is your non-setup. So the fact that you ended up not properly using the downtime between fights to set up means that you have a worse engagement. So in this case, not only did you not scout out the high ground that the Cassidy went to, you also look at how far you are. If the enemy team, let's say, has a Lucio, or if the enemy team was able to kite this Nanoblade better, you would be getting 0 kills. So one really good example of how you could have gotten 0 kills from this blade is if the N nades the Torbjorn earn herself and the Brig packs the chill. Because the nade is gonna be increasing the healing and the Brig healing might be able to make them survive, like the healing and the damage is gonna be the same. I don't know the exact numbers, but if you need more than one swing, and with Nanoblade, one of the biggest perks of Nanoblade is gonna be to be able to simply use a single swing and a dash, right? In this case, since you were far away, you didn't get the dash damage. So when there is always the risk when you don't get the damage burst, that the enemy might be able to out-heal your damage. So this is this is a consequence of you not properly setting up, but it is also just something that you have to keep in mind whenever you Nanoblade, right? And this one was successful, but sometimes people can out-heal Nanoblade or just Blade or whatever, and the Genji player a lot of the times feels surprised by it, but it's most likely simply because he played the Blade poorly.
Yeah. That happens to me a lot, I think.
Or there is the case, I don't remember which match that was, which I watched from the Overwatch League in Overwatch 2, where I think it was Sparkle used the full blade on a support and didn't get the kill because of healing. But that's another case where you're talking about Overwatch League level supports pocketing a single player. But yeah, the Nanoblade did the job, and you're gonna be capping point B with a good snowball, which is very good. And now here's a good example of you using the downtime between fights. You're looking for a nuff angle that's gonna be annoying the enemy team, getting pressure done. Good push on the Torb. And I would guess you turn this fight. Maybe not. But this fight is still... Actually no, never mind, this fight isn't that good for you because you ended up using copy and rally. We gotta say that if you just used grab for Nano Noon and Whole Hog, that would have been great. Nice. Yeah, one thing that I was gonna say, and now you finally turn back, is that when you kill the Cassidy, and then you turn main, and then you see 3 players. So you still haven't seen 2 of them. You see the Torb turret up top, but you have not seen Hog or Torbjorn. And they were flanking your team and getting picks. And you took all of this time to look. Not necessarily your job to, but that is something that you could have maybe scouted out by going top. Which is probably a good thing to always do, because whenever your team has to regroup, Genji is faster than most other characters, so he can take this time to actually peek and check if someone is going to try to use high ground to look for a cheeky angle, or just a hard flank like they did. And if you want to rotate below, which can be fine, then you rotate after having checked top, so that your backline doesn't easily get flanked. Because I don't think it was your job after your team got the pick and were pushing here to check for any flanks here. And you destroyed the turret and you did all of the stuff right now here. The mistake that not necessarily a mistake on your part, but you could have taken this on your own hands by simply scouting it ahead to tell your team if there was someone on top that was gonna be a threat in the close amount of time. So like a few seconds, which was when the enemy tried to drop and get to your back lane. I'm surprised he didn't die to dash swing. Probably got hit by a Nana shot right at the perfect moment. But this should still be a very good fight for you. I don't like this push. I think that you're still gonna cap. But I think you know why I don't like this push. And
yeah, because he had all his cooldowns.
no, not necessarily that. The risk reward isn't good. You have already killed so many people, so you've nanobladed the Cassidy and the Ana, then you come back cart, you kill the Hog, and you kill the Diva. Who is gonna stall point at this point? Maybe the Lucio coming back, right? The other DPS. They're gonna be able to stall point for a very little amount of time. So, since there is no big stall, whoever comes back from spawn on the enemy team is not gonna be able to make a big play. Because they're not gonna be able to suddenly surprise you like they did before, so the Cassidy dropping from behind with Ainun over here, they surprised your team and got value. They're not gonna be able to do that. You know where they're gonna be coming from. They are not stalling the point long enough for the enemy to set up for any type of trade kills. The only thing that they can really set up for is to stall. So you simply playing to punish the people that touch point, try to kill them as fast as possible, is probably the safest play that still gives you really good reward. Because even if you get the kill on the Cassidy, there isn't much reward to be gotten here. Like, realistically speaking, that Cassidy never makes it to point with a whole team looking at him whenever he comes out of this door. But by you pushing up there, that gives him the opportunity that he wouldn't have of getting a pick. Guaranteeing a pick with the flashbang. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But your team did get a really good push here.
3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A. Taking off. Focus on the objective. Minimize errors. Adapt changing battlefield conditions. And good luck.
Nice. And he's dead. Because you overextended without the team. Which is good. For your team, obviously. Not for the enemy.
Enemy turret ahead.
Enemy turret eliminated.
Did your Hog chase the Torb? No, he didn't. I like that you didn't chase the Torb because he was so far away from you, but I think that your Hog could have.
Enemy turret ahead.
I think he had to flank him and like kill him.
And the Torb flank actually got your echo. This fight is mostly not your bad. The only thing that you could theoretically have done better, which would not be able to save this fight, is simply not dash the Hog. Dashing the Hog basically adds nothing to the possible amount of damage that you're gonna be dealing to him. You still haven't seen Vape, you still haven't seen the bubble, which sure, they just swapped the Zarya off of Winston. but I still think that it's better for you to not be dashing a tank that is like over half HP, because you don't, especially a hog, because you don't know if you're gonna confirm that elimination. It's better to save your dash for another scenario, such as if a squishy, let's say the Ana ends up staying main while the rest of the team pushes here. If you have your dash, then you can actually try to make a clutch by winning the duel and then contesting the point, and maybe your team actually can recontest. But in this case, it's gonna be very tough for your team to actually have any chance. So this is just a nitpick.
Hey there. Hello. Objective lost. Stop the payload.
本気を見せてみろ Activating the barrier.
Oof. Yeah, he pre-hooked that. I don't think, I mean, game sense maybe, but I also just get gotten to that sometimes. I think that is mostly on the hog going for a dumb hook and getting rewarded, and you making a bad play or a positioning mistake or something like that. Okay, the hog, alright, the Torb gets punished. You holding the deflect there is very good because of the echo. Now, one thing that I'm gonna just quickly talk to you to help me remind myself of this fact is you have seen the Torb flank on the first point, and you have seen the Torb hard flank on the second point as well. One thing that you could be doing when the enemy team is running a composition like this, so Roadhog and Zarya are annoying tanks for you to a certain extent, Cassidy and Brig, like this all makes it really tough for you to actually be making plays solo, or at least making plays solo that convert into eliminations. You don't necessarily need to convert eliminations to actually be doing your job and be doing very well in a match. But if you ever feel stuck against compositions like these, you can always look for mistakes that the enemy team is doing that you can easily punish. And in this case, I want to see if you at any point end up turning for the Torb or not. I'm just talking this early, but I don't have enough information to judge whether or not you end up doing this or not. But this Torbjorn, his playstyle is something that you can very easily punish if you just look for his long flanks. So I'm curious whether or not you're gonna be ignoring him during this match, or if you're gonna pick up on his pattern and just farm him for an easy advantage for your team every fight. Good push on the Brig, you see the stickies, and your team is gonna be following up this up. And even if you dive to that Zarya, I still think that you should be dashing her there to contribute as much damage as possible to not give her any chance to escape with energy.
Enemy turret destroyed.
Changing position. Enemy turret detected.
So here, remember what I talked about on the attack when we were in this position? About the
Yeah, when
downtime
you're
between
floating
fights?
around. Yeah.
Do you think that this applies to this position though, on defense?
I don't know. If it feels like if I take it with like an off angle, just like a lot of damage, like the torp turret and the Kree, and I can't get close because of the Brig.
Yeah,
So I don't know. Like,
but ignoring composition. I'm talking just like the difference between attack and defense, mostly. You swapping to defense, does that make it so that you, if there's a downtime between fights, should you be looking for a more aggressive position or something? Or should you just be AFKing like you did, or quote-unquote AFKing, and just poking in a general direction from main, like you did before?
I think like I want them to come into space, right? So isn't it better to hold position?
Yeah.
So like they want us.
I mean, It depends, but in this case specifically, I think that the biggest reason why you want to simply be holding position, and to a certain extent, in case you didn't know, this is actually a spot that you can stand. I think Fitzy was the first one that showed me this, but you can also do this on Genji, you don't necessarily need to do this on Sombra. You can stand here and this gives you a cheeky off angle that makes it so when you try to Nano Blade, then the enemy team has less time to react to you. But you get the same thing done if you just come from here and dash up. The main reason why I think that you holding position here is good compared to an attack being a misuse of your time is because the objective of the defense is to simply burn the attacking clock to 0, right? So if you don't have any rush to make any play, you simply burn their time. They're down their Roadhog. They're not pushing and making anything meaningful. So if they're not doing anything meaningful, you don't have to use powerful resources yet. So you simply staying here on this high ground trying to deny if anyone tries to come from the stairs or something like that. It is just completely correct for you to do. And wait for the enemy team then to start to make a play or something for you to just shut down with Nano Blade.
Огонь по готовности!
Now, the execution of this ended up not working out, and we can talk about that, but the idea is good, right? So you ended up losing your Hog, and they're committing ultimates, so now if you can shut down their push with Nano Blade, this is massive value. You wasted more of their time bank. You made them use ultimates, and they lose the fight, so this would be a massive plus if you ended up getting this done properly.
You're powered up.
So direction here was a little slow, mechanics I'm not gonna be talking about that. I think that the main mistake here is to not go for the people in the flux. These are free kills. You don't necessarily know if you're gonna be able to kill the Xana fast. But even then, I think that the biggest mistake that you made in this Nano Blade is forgetting that the Roadhog died early. And he's coming back from spawn. And this, for me personally, this was one of the hardest things for me to learn. I was making these mistakes in Grandmaster very often, where I wanted to, let's say, look for a spawn camp, but I forgot that someone was coming back from spawn and they got gotten by them while I was looking for a flank or something. Because then they flanked the flanker by coming back from spawn, right? This can be hard for you to remember at the start, but if you can get into the habits of remembering the time it takes for someone to come back to spawn or something like that, then this would possibly have made it easier for you to remember that this Hog was here, so that you don't get hooked and your Nano Blade doesn't get that much. Because the idea to go for the Ana instead of the Flux is still fine, because you probably you probably thought that the people in the Flux would simply die without needing your help for it, which is obviously you can think about, oh, let me do everything so I don't leave it up to the randoms in my team, which can be a good mentality. In this case though, you probably can expect them to die and be right most of the times. So I think that the only reason why this Nano Blade ended up not getting too much work done is because you forgot about the Roadhog. Not because of the rally armor, not because maybe you should have gone for the people in the Flux first, but because you forgot about the Roadhog. And you still ended up getting some decent value. You're still actually in the fight, trading, and trading ultimates too. But yeah, this is a very important fight for your team to win because of the respawns. I mean, Numbani not so much, because Numbani's spawn isn't that favorable for defense at the very end of B. But in general, the very end of a point is gonna be favorable for the defense in relation to spawns. So, and if you couple
So,
that with the what were you saying?
Like, so is it? Should I take that fight even if I think we're gonna lose it?
Sorry, I
Like,
didn't.
is it like what I always want to take that fight even if like I think we're gonna lose it, like the fight to contest right before the cap.
I mean, you're talking about the recontest fight, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you probably are not in a position to take a recontest fight, and if I am misunderstanding what you said, then I think that at least I'm thinking that what you said was recontesting here, but I don't know. Okay. It's just because your mic is popping a little when you talk, so sometimes it's hard to understand what you're talking. I don't know if that's something that you're gonna fix or not, but it shouldn't be too big of a problem. But yeah.
Maybe I'm talking to it.
But
Is it better?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely better. I think that obviously it really matters for you to win this fight, so the weight of your mistakes, and this is also another interesting thing in Overwatch, the weight of your mistakes is gonna be different depending on the context. So you making the mistake here of forgetting the Roadhog, or maybe deciding to go for the Ana when you could argue that it would be better to go for the Flux first, but it doesn't matter which thing is right now. I'm trying to talk about another concept. If you making the mistake here costs you a second point, then considering that everyone basically popped the ultimates, and this removes you a really strong position to hold, then this is gonna be one of the biggest mistakes one can make in the match, right? So those are the kinds of moments, those are the kinds of ultimates in that case where it's really important for you to get right. So one thing that you can do, especially like considering the downtime that you had between the moment that you ended up ulting and all of the time before, right? So that you were waiting here for something for them to push, so that you wasted as much time as possible. That's the time that on the offense you used to look for a setup. On the defense, you used to think about what they can do about your blade, how to stop it so that you can outplay it. Because then if you do that, then you might be able to keep in mind, okay, one of the things they can do to shut down my blade is the Roadhog hook. Where is the Roadhog? And then you remember, it's coming back from spawn. And then you don't get fucked by that. So, in this case, in the defense, using your downtime when you're waiting to use your ultimate at the perfect moments is gonna be really good to simply think about how you're gonna be going over the next play. How do you get a VOD review? Exclamation mark VOD review. Just type exclamation mark VOD review in chat and the command should show you how you can get one done. No worries, Lack, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, let's go back. So this is a very good position that you're holding. This is the same thing that I talked about in the first points. You don't know if you're gonna be getting the kill on the Roadhog, so it's better to be saving your dash for the very end. Because as you have seen here, since Roadhog is a big target and your position allows you to play close while being in relative safety from his one-hit kill with the hook, you're dishing out a lot of damage to him from this range, right? So you giving up that position for a very low chance of the kill with the dash, I don't think it's worth it, especially if you think, how much is 50 damage for a tank that has 600 HP, plus his self-heal, plus the damage reduction from that self-heal, so Roadhog has effectively over 900 HP. 50 damage is basically nothing. So in that case, I think that you're getting baited oftentimes, and by not considering how survivable he can be, and then ending up feeding when you could have saved your dash and held a very powerful position. Are you familiar with the term effective HP by any chance?
Yeah. It's like say like someone gets like pocketed by a brig, so like they have effectively more than 200 HP.
Yeah. This is the thing that I feel like you're misjudging with the Roadhog right now.
Mhm.
Enemy turret.
And now your team is staggering, which is unfortunate.
The payload is approaching its destination.
وريهم قوتك.
Okay, this is most likely gonna be a fight where you don't have any chance because of how hard your team staggered. And you did start the stagger, but I've already talked about that. Now, if you're talking about optimizing your chances in this fight, there is no real reason for you to back out all the way to this corner instead of holding the forward one. Because this is gonna be giving you the cover that you want from the Roadhog hook, which is the main threat here. And if it does push you, then you can expect him to be wanting to push with his hook, so you can use your deflect for that, instead of having to guess when he wants to hook from here, or react to it. So obviously, this is just gonna be like the first point, where it's gonna be very tough for you to win. But differently from first points, now that your spawn is so close, these efforts matter more towards winning this fight, because if you actually manage to get a good stall off, if you manage to get a kill, then your team actually has a pretty decent chance of actually winning this fight, because of all the waves that are gonna be coming back from spawn and stalling points. But that's about it, because especially now that they popped Rally, you're most likely not winning this, like, at all. And the Nano and the U-Star boat, so this is pretty much a lost cause. But yeah, they actually ended up capping the whole way faster than you did. And a part of that was damage done by your team. But I feel like the two most important places of the map, two of the three most important places of the map to hold, were actually mostly on you. So the most important parts of the map to hold, I would argue, first point, let's ignore first point. I don't know necessarily if this is a very important place to hold. This can happen. This is a place where a lot of full holds happen, but ignoring first point, this corner, or just this corner plus the rest of the way, so the end of second point, this corner with this massive high ground advantage and this choke that is very tough for the enemy team is another really important place of the map. And the very end of third point, because it has very 2 CP qualities with the very close spawn, right? This wasn't your fault. You dying here basically gives the enemy team the go sign to push. So this death right here, even though it was this exact same idea on first point, the weight here is way bigger than on first point. And the Nano Blade not getting as much value as it could here on second point also cost you a lot. But yeah, so far these are like the two big mistakes that you have made.
Attackers incoming.
Let's see how the third and fourth round go.
I have a death I'm not proud of on this round.
Ooh, you got greedy there, trying to finish the turret.
Enemy turret ahead. Come over here. Come over here.
Let's see how you deal with that setup. Because as unorthodox as the setup is, it's actually pretty good against a team that has no idea what they're doing. And your Winston is completely clueless on what to do about the setup. And you do get the... What were you saying?
They start playing the NF for not, then for like not needing the hard at this point.
I mean, yeah, obviously Anna is probably the biggest counter to Hog, and her not hitting her cooldowns on that Hog is gonna be very bad for your team. But I think that there is a bigger underlying issue with your attack. And let's see how this ends. But I feel like we already kind of know what is gonna happen. Unless this Nano Blip goes big. Also, real quick. Was the plan to Nano Winston or was the plan to Nano Blade? In here?
I think you're playing none of me.
And she just missed, or did she use to save the Winston?
I'm not too sure.
But you're going in because you're expecting the Nano.
Yeah.
Okay. Because if you weren't, then you were just feeding. But if you're expecting the Nano here, then this is okay for you to be going for this push because you would have the extra durability and damage. And you ended up getting out-brawled by the Brig, which is always something that you can get better at over time. I would argue that at this point, especially if you see the kill feed, you should be pulling out the Blade to finish this Brig off. Because you need to touch and you need to make something. Especially because you just saw your Winston and he was nanoed around here. And he was going for the Cassidy. He has no intent of actually contesting point anytime soon. So you might be the one that has to make the clutch play. But again, this is something that, since your team ended up fucking up before, this is not a fight where you're most likely to win, even if you play perfectly. The big problem on the attack is gonna be all the way back. So how much time do you have? 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes. After 15 seconds you should know the enemy comp, because you can press tab. And you're trying to set up to break the turret, and it is unfortunate that you ended up feeding for the turret. But what you're gonna be seeing after this is that your team, and you too, don't know how to deal with the setup. And I'm gonna be giving you some time here to try to answer. What is the best way for you, and you should ignore your team in this one, what is the best way you can engage this setup to give yourself the best chance of making a play and winning first points?
Could I go like through left and like use the cover?
You mean top, bottom?
I could go bottom.
And
I could
hard
break the
left?
turret.
Or you just stay around here or something?
I could try and make a plan with Torb since he's like kind of split off from his team. If I can break the turret.
Yeah, true, because he's completely alone. That's one option.
Yeah.
But now, let's ignore the Torb for a second. If this Torb didn't exist, let's say that you killed the Torb, or he simply decided to go back to his team. How do you deal with this bunker?
Would I flank? I don't think so, right?
Flanking here? Or here?
I could go hard left.
Also a possibility?
Or I could... Nah. Yeah. That's all I see.
I don't think that there is necessarily a right answer to exactly which way you should deal with this bunker, with an off angle or a hard flank or whatever. But what you ended up doing is, obviously your team tunnel visioned on the Roadhog, but outside of the moments where you're tunnel visioning on the hog, you're giving the bunker value by trying to clash with it on a poke battle, when your team is not made for poking. Genji's poke is decent, but that's about it, and your team isn't set up for poking. So, since you're the only one that's basically gonna be shooting the Risa shield, it's never gonna break. Or if it breaks, you're gonna have another one. So, the approach that you took here should be to either just hard commit on the hog, or just look for one of the things that you talked about, so be it over here, or by walking right side and doing a hard flank and then climbing, or just left side and flanking over here, or just, I don't know, using dash from here all the way back and then you get close and wall climb. There are many ways that you can handle this, but any way that can actually bypass the shield and get you into distance where you actually have a chance of getting eliminations. Because right now, you're not doing anything, really. Your team also isn't doing anything, but we're talking about the way that you can deal with this bunker. Because if you're thinking about a team composition, ideally, your Winston jumps in with Bubble, engages the backline, then you engage with him, and the Reaper's coming in from an off angle. Or he's TPing while using all of the pressure that your Winston is doing, and here to actually engage. But since we're not expecting this level of team play, and also because you have already played 2 whole rounds with your team, you kind of know that your Winston isn't the best Winston in the world and doesn't know what really to do, so he oftentimes has bubbled low ground and he's gonna be pushing the Roadhog a lot when he should be trying to push high ground. Then you are gonna need to set up for a very tough, but this is gonna end up being your job, either to assassinate someone on the high ground by doing a solo play, or like you said before, which is the best play that you can make, most likely, to single out the storm and win the 1v1. Because the thing is, a lot of players, and this is something that really frustrates me, because even in Grandmaster people make this mistake. Just because you have 2 minutes on the clock doesn't mean that Nanoblade will win you a point. Because you're not the only one farming ultimates. The enemy team is also farming ultimates. And in the case when you tried to Nanoblade, you didn't lose because the Nanoblade necessarily failed. You were just a tiny bit short and stuff like that. And the decision making here could be a little better by pulling out the blade here to finish the brig. But you lost because the enemy ulted first. You farming nano means that the enemy DPS probably have ultimates. You farming your ultimate means that the enemy support probably have ultimates. So because the enemy Torb especially is really good at zoning the enemy out with his ultimate, you setting up to win with a Nanoblade is a trap. So the mistake here, just never accept the idea that the mistake here is because the Nanoblade didn't get big value, because you didn't even get Nano on the blade and didn't even pull out the blade. The mistake here was before that, how to deal with the unexpected bunker comp that your team didn't adapt to fast enough. That was the big mistake of the attack. Did this whole thing make sense?
Yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
And now they're going Sigma. Where they're going is very good for you. Your rotation is a little late, so you don't get to hold as greedily. But you do get the job done. And and obviously you playing greedily and like being on the door frame by the moment that they can push out can be good, but you do have to remember all of the cooldowns that they can land on you outside, like through deflect. So shield bash, rock, and flashbang to a certain extent. And since your ball player tanked all of that, I like that you engaged, even though you engaged basically 1v6. You did get some big value because of the cleave of the Winston, because they didn't have resources for you, so it was good to stop the bleeding and actually get value from the feed that your ball did. And good placed shots too. Now, this did get value, and you're gonna be getting a clean 3k. This time, I feel like it's a bigger risk than before to actually engage back into the room, because you didn't see all of their cooldowns to know that this was safe play, and you also didn't completely know their HP to know that if you went in, that you would be getting that kill of the Cassidy to get the reset. But I don't think it's the worst risk in the world for you to take. I feel like that is a pretty reasonable risk to reward ratio for you to value to be worth the risk. And that Lucio did a really good play, actually. Very, very nice reaction. And he should die for this now. Ooh, maybe not with Nano. Very, very clean. I don't know if you draw this or not, but this... You're putting in the effort now to draw this match, which I like. You put on the carry pants. You don't live, but this feels like a big slip up on what you should be doing. Your Winston ended up feeding inside of you, but you probably should have been the one that died there. And yeah, you end up losing a very close game. I feel like this game ended up being decided in 3 major moments. The 2 that I've already talked about before on the first defense, and this push that you did on the or rather on the second defense. At the very end. At this point the enemy doesn't have the luxury to get good positions, right? So, because of that, all you need to really do is set up to hold your really good positions and punish the people that touch points. Your Winston can go for this play because of bubble. You can't go for this play because you don't have the... First of all, you're going further than he is. And you're also gonna be... your rotation to safety is tougher than his rotation to safety. Because he has his HP, and because of the bubble he can just do this very easily. You need to wall climb, and while you are wall climbing you cannot really deflect. And wall climb is gonna be the way that you realistically get away from this. The only thing that you can really do to optimize your chance of living is to wall climb most of the way, get off the wall, double jump, turn around, deflect, to try to prevent the enemy from killing you on the end of the way up, and pray that the enemy cannot kill you while you rotate or you get help from your team. But yeah, this ended up being like... I wouldn't say that this is typical from you. I feel like this is just a slip up that you did. Ended up being greedy or something like that, like a split second decision that was bad and you know was bad but you ended up doing anyway. And possibly cost you the match. Because then the Winston ended up committing with you. I don't know if he would have committed if you backed out, but at least you could have lived for sure, because honestly you should not have lived by doing that play. But yeah, do you have any questions?
I think I'm understanding what you're saying. Like an attack, like I wasn't like really taking it like in a position with an advantage when like mess is happening, and like towards the end, like I was kind of greedy on the sig, and I like forced my monkey to jump in with me. It was like led to him dying, but it should have been me. Cause I'm pretty sure I called that out for him to jump in with me too when we were playing this game. So I think that was definitely my fault.
I think if there's like one takeaway from this match, it's simply gonna be understanding the map better. And this might sound weird at first, but it makes a lot of sense. So for example, one of the main reasons why you end up feeding here might simply be because you don't properly understand the position of the position that you ended up in. So the enemy team doesn't have the luxury to get high ground. They are gonna have to rush main. So if you just hold positions, they have a base disadvantage at this fight. The moment that you ended up not getting the nano blade properly done here was another mistake, but the position that you were holding is fine. But on the attack, you just defaulted to a position that was like very average, instead of actually taking the time like the Doomfist did to set up. So not properly understanding the setup phase, which is it is some about your game sense in general, but a lot about the map, the specific map as well. And then third point too, you giving up your position on the high ground, that is really, and this is probably one of the strongest positions that exists in Overwatch, for Genji at least, this little perch. This is extremely strong. You're giving it up for a very small amount of damage on a tank that you have no idea if you're gonna kill is one of the biggest mistakes too. So if you come to think about it, a lot of the biggest mistakes that you did are simply because of you not understanding too well what the strong map positions are and why necessarily you want to do something in the map instead of another thing. Outside of that, I think that obviously I gave you some, like I pointed out mistakes and talked about here different things, so you can always try to work on these different mistakes and stuff. But I feel like
I'm gonna model that so I can really absorb what you're saying.
I think that the biggest thing that you can take from this is simply trying to make better use of the map. I could be wrong on this call, but I feel like that could end up just making you play better positions, which in turn, and obviously playing better positions also is gonna be important for you to get better pathing. So obviously pathing relates to that setup, but I did release a pathing video, and I've talked about it on stream as well a lot of times. But pathing is closely related to how a map position can be good or not, so transitioning between powerful positions and stuff like that, and how to deal with any positions, which you properly assessed when I asked you about the bunker. Outside of the storm, you properly assessed that you wanted to flank the bunker instead of just trying to poke it straight up, so maybe that's simply something that you need to get more active thinking, so that you don't end up autopiloting in game, because that's probably what ended up happening a lot of these times.
I do autopilot.
Alright, thank you for the VOD. I hope this was useful. If you have any more questions, or you end up creating more questions after this, you can always just ask them on Discord, on a stream, whenever you feel like, and I'll be more than happy to help, or the community. And if you have more VODs to submit later on, you can always feel free to do so.
I bet, bro. I appreciate it, bro. You're a goat.
And have a good day, man.
You too.
Alrighty. I feel like that this match in specific was really interesting, because even though if you look at a whole Overwatch map, it is pretty big, but you can really narrow it down to very specific places which are more important than the others. And I feel like this game was really decided on how well each team utilized these positions. So the fact, for example, that the enemy team utilized first point a little better than his team was very important. The fact that the enemy team was able to hold the start of third point a little better is also a very important position in the map, so that's also contributed to the fact that they won. So this really just goes to show that even though a map can be really big, you can really boil it down to very small positions that are way more important than others for you to properly tackle. Which is why pathing is generally important, but even more so in these scenarios where the enemy has a really important position to hold, and if you can break it apart using pathing to dissect a position into, let's say, a duel temporarily by flanking unnoticed, then that could be a massive play, and people often don't think about it. People often think that, let's say, Genji only gets value with Blade, when in reality, if he can get a pick in one of these bunker scenarios that are really tough to break into, that is a hell of a carry play. It's a very silent carry play, but it's a hell of a carry play. So I think that this replay code really showcases the importance of map positions and like how much weights certain plays and in turn mistakes can have in the outcome of a match. Which can be discouraging, but also can be very encouraging to note that you can have this much your performance matters a lot in a match if it is put in the right moment. Someone might do a lot in the wrong moments, and someone might do a lot in very few moments, but if those few moments are very important moments of the match, that probably has more weight than just doing very well in moments that don't really matter, right? Also, what up, Genji Noob? I don't know if you wanted me to still call you Genji Noob, or if you want me to call you Toxic One or Genji Shimada, which is what you're using on Discord. But yeah, I can do your VOD now. I don't know if you want to join call or not. If you do, just join voice chat /Q and I'm gonna be getting to your VOD. And yeah, let me put a reaction here so I know I did this VOD. There you go. So we're missing 2 VODs to do. Your VOD and one that was submitted from Google Forms. It's like 1 hour and 10 minutes away from midnight, which is ideally when I sleep, but since I don't have anything to do tomorrow morning, not like I necessarily need to sleep early, I might need to lower my volume. So talking a little bit lower, but I really get enthusiastic about this stuff. I really like helping people improve, so I end up raising my voice a lot. So hopefully we can do these VODs without a problem, but ideally I don't take as long anymore because this stream I ended up starting a little later than I wanted to. Ideally I end this stream by midnight, but I don't think that's realistic. So, Platinum, I think, no, never mind. 1 match is Platinum and 1 match is Gold. Platinum. Also, Genji Noob, are you gonna be joining voice chat or not? Like, do you want to join a voice chat call, or are you fine without it? Or do you not have a mic or something? You missed the start, did you get yours? Katrina, is your match the King's Row match? Because I did receive 2 matches from Google Forms. I remember you were one of the ones, and I'm pretty sure that I reviewed the other one earlier on the first stream. So I think I didn't get to yours yet. If you are the King's Row match, then I didn't get to that one of the... Yeah, alright, there we go. So, since both of you that are waiting for a VOD review are here, then if any of you have any time constraints, then just let me know now and just talk in chat so that I can choose to give priority to one VOD over the other to do now. And also if you want to join a call, which I think is more productive than just talking to chat here, because talking is easier than just typing in chat and faster. But if you don't have a Discord account, or if you don't feel like talking to me, or like you're not comfortable talking in public, and we're not in public really, and public here isn't big yet, I feel like we can grow the channel a lot, but so far the channel isn't that big. So, but even then, it's not like people sometimes are comfortable talking like this, so you can't at the moment. Alright, then I'm gonna be doing his first. Fun fact, when I started trying to do YouTube, when I started doing YouTube, I wasn't even doing like microphone, but when I first started trying to do microphone, even when I was talking alone, before I published the video, obviously, so I have to record the video before publishing it, even then, it's funny how tough it was for me to actually do it. Actually really funny, because of school and whatnot, I ended up becoming very introverted. So even me just talking to a microphone on a video that wouldn't necessarily post, I couldn't be really motivated and talk like this like I'm now. Like, this is the result of me doing this for a long time. And you can even see the difference between like my old videos that I currently still have listed public. So the first video that I have public, which is my Genji drills from 2020, you're gonna see that my level of volume in my voice and my motivation is different than the one I have now. So this has been a long journey for me, so I am not gonna be expecting everyone to feel comfortable talking in voice chat. So I'm making this invitation to join me in this call, but if you don't feel comfortable for any reason, or don't have a mic, or don't have a Discord account, then it's completely fine. Alright, since I did not receive an answer yet about joining the voice chat call, I'm gonna assume you're not gonna be joining the voice chat, but if you want to at any point, just let me know in chat so that I can pull you from the voice chat /queue up to the voice chat that I'm using for the stream, Genji Noob. But yeah, without further ado, let me get to this stream of both Overwatch and Genji. That's fine. And honestly, these kinds of things can end up being good for you, because they can make you get a new point of view in the game. I feel like a lot of the times when I took small breaks and I came back, obviously my mechanics were not on point, but I feel like my decision making was a lot better because I was trying to not necessarily relearn the game, but I had to refine my approach into it. I don't know if that makes too much sense, but in my case, for example, it made it so that whenever I came back from a small break, I would be having my thought process more active. I would be doing more of it consciously than subconsciously, which would help me not autopilot and find value in places where it was previously maybe I wouldn't. And I think that has to do with taking a quick break, like I talked about before, but I think that also has to do with not tilting with the game, right? Taking a break can be really helpful for you to actually feel refreshed instead of tilted when playing a game. So for example, after I play Apex, I enjoy Apex for some time, but after playing Apex for some hours, some days, maybe weeks or whatever, I get tired of Apex pretty quickly compared to other games. So when I come back from Overwatch feels very refreshing compared to the Apex environment. So even if Overwatch doesn't get content updates, by doing these quick swaps between these two games when I feel like I need a break, can be really good for me to actually have a new perspective in this game, not tilt, actually have fun, and just have better performance, right? which is why this could end up being a worse game for you than usual, but it could end up being a better game for you than usual. I would have pushed the Tracer with dash. The reason why I would have pushed that Tracer with dash is because she had no recall. And she already had used blinks to get out of the room. So let me quickly go back. Tracer. Pay attention to the Tracer. She tried to go for the flank, but she fucked up. 1, 2 blinks and the recall. I would have committed the dash, and then she would be so low that your team would probably be able to finish. However, this is a nitpick, because usually dashing a Tracer is not gonna be worth it. This is mostly because this Tracer fucked up. You cannot really assume that this Tracer has no blinks. And in a case one of the blinks recharged now, if you dashed immediately, then you possibly would have gotten the dash damage, but in general, not dashing the Tracer is gonna be best. You don't necessarily know if she's gonna be able to blink away and make you waste a dash. Good, Ryan feeds. And now you're anti, so you're just looking for the Tracer, all staying safe and waiting for the anti. You suck at getting Tracer, and that's fine. It's tough to go for a Tracer, and Tracer isn't the best matchup for Genji anyway, so... Not like you shouldn't necessarily be good at it, when it's completely fine for you not to. This push on the Ana was a little scary, but then again, it's not like you were in an immediate danger, and you can always back out with deflects. It doesn't have to be a hard engagement. And so far the enemy team is just feeding a lot, but also you're doing a pretty good job at punishing mistakes that they're doing. Also, a quick question, is the music volume good? Because I've heard that the music volume was too loud before. Whenever I watched back, I liked it, but that could maybe like depend on which music is playing. That's something that I would like you all to also pay attention to. Like, are some musics at a higher volume? So like, are some musics fine and some not? Or is like the general volume good now? The stream lagging, I don't think I have dropped any frames during this time. I think I have not lost any frames for a while now, so I think it is just you, which is refreshing for me. This is like the second stream in a row that I'm basically losing no frames. Obviously not ideal to dash the Moira, but you were also getting closer to the Genji, so fine to that extent. I think you overstayed your welcome trying to go for the Moira. I think you just if you backed out to the high ground one shot earlier, so if you cut your shots one shot earlier, then you would have been able to get the best shot at trying to kill the Moira, and you would have lived. I don't think you necessarily need to give up trying to go for the Moira altogether. I think that you're trying to go for it is good. It's just that you tried it for a little too long, and you got punished for it. Wait, what? Oh, nice. They're fitting and you did a good punish. The enemy team is fitting, your team is doing well, and you're very clean one shot. Unfortunate that you dashed a little too late into her flail, which you didn't expect. So you almost actually got a good combo on the brick too. I wouldn't have gone for the Tracer. I would have saved my dash and zoned out card here. Good dash through damage. You can just feeding, he should die, yep. Now the problem is, your team is too focused on Pill to actually be dealing meaningful pressure to actually win. Very, very good combo on the break there. But I'm pretty sure your team is gonna be losing here. Because your team simply isn't killing the enemy fast enough. And since you already lost your Zen, your Ana is probably gonna go too, since you're gonna be the next target. And you're not gonna have enough sustained damage to be able to win this. Right? That's one of the main things. Losing the Zen is already a tough blow. But even if it's a tough blow, your team can still win that if they win the fight fast. And you're not winning the fight fast by peeling. You need to win the fight fast by going aggressive. So obviously you cannot do that alone. It's more of a team thing. But I think that at that point your team should have peeled and then soft reset, waiting for the Zen. And the brick DC'd, I think? On your cap. Very weird.
Ultimate is come on. Look up here.
Ooh. I would have deflected out. I would have deflected out because it is unlikely for anyone to... Let me remove this. It is unlikely for anyone to be able to chase me to the high ground here. And also, since there are a lot of people who still main that can see me, I would be deflecting to stay safe during this rotation. That you maybe go to this corner, or maybe you can actually do the full rotation to the high ground. But yeah, your team is just getting screwed up here, so not like it does a big difference.
The battle continues. My ultimate is almost ready. I am moving the payload. My blade is ready to be.
I would... I don't know. If you're expecting no Nano Blade, I wouldn't be using a dash for an attempt at a combo like that.
My ultimate is ready. I am healed.
I'm sorry. I'm actually kind of tired. It's very late here. This Nano Blade isn't bad. It's a little clunky. But it isn't bad at all. Since a lot of the enemy team backed out and it's character that you don't really want to chase, so Genji, Tracer, Mora, you're just staying and cleaning up the front line is completely fine. Now you should be trying to run because of the Tracer and you don't know if your supports are gonna be properly helping you, so you get back out, so good. Yeah, good. The Zarya is still alive. I think you could have finished her. I think you just were... I could be wrong, but it felt like you were a little lazy when trying to look for her because you knew that she was low and you... And to me it feels like you expected her to just die from your team instead of you trying to finish her yourself. I would not have, but let's ignore that because that's just an assumption that I'm making based on no information. I would not be peeling for the Tracer. It's not your job to peel for the Tracer.
10 seconds.
Especially when you're this close to Blade. You probably want to farm Blade and try to make a play. Because it's the end. Like, look at this. It didn't touch, but let's ignore the fact that you didn't touch. It's the end of a point. Like we have talked about previously a bunch of times. The end of a point favors the defense a lot. Because it favors the defense a lot, ultimates are really good at breaking into these positions because they help you have more power to actually do a fast team wipe. So if you're that close to Blade, this is one of those moments where just playing to farm the rest of the Blade is fine, because that's gonna be one more tool that you're gonna have at your arsenal to actually break into a position that favors the defense. So I think that you wasted an opportunity, and obviously this would be tough, the position that your team ended up being pushed at, to cap. But this doesn't mean that you couldn't have done better by not chasing the Tracer, maybe trying to make a play on the enemy. No, I don't know what it would be, because the enemy comp isn't. It's hard for you to pinpoint like, oh hey, this is my target. So maybe you're trying to punish mistakes or or find opportunity and stuff like that. Maybe look to be annoying on off angles or whatever. But having the Blade would be better. That's one of those moments where you got carried away trying to do a job that wasn't yours.
3, 2, 1.
And I already talked about this on the earlier stream, but
Defend objective A.
you probably should be scouting. You can scout this very easily by either climbing, and you can also poke, but the poke is not the main reason, but you can make use of this time to poke the enemy. The main reason why you climb this is to see the enemy composition. This position up ahead is probably too greedy, so I wouldn't recommend that. So climbing and playing this statue to see the enemy composition can help you know what position to play. If you're setting up for a backline assassination, or for poking and waiting for the enemy to push in, to, let's say, jump over this corner and be able to look for a dash through, or just duel in the backline or whatever. And scouting in general is just good, because information just lets your decision making be easier, because you have more information to be able to make proper decisions based on that assessments, right, of the enemy composition to yours, so what your win condition is and whatever. What I do instead of climbing, since climbing this leg especially can sometimes be very weird, is I simply dash up. I dash up and use double jump and a little wall climb at the very top to stall, to have more time to look at the enemy composition, and then you back out the position, so let's say where the Hanzo is, to be able to poke a little, or maybe back up all the way with your team, or whatever. I don't care which position you play after, I just think that the position that you're currently at isn't really that good and loses the opportunity to scout the enemy out. This ball just wasted power drive for no reason. I would have deflected, that was greedy. But the brick did die, which was good. You're wasting too much time with the Tracer. You're not gonna be doing anything meaningful to her. The moment that your Zarya got hooked in by the Hog, I would argue that you should be trying to help with the Hog, because he's gonna be focusing the Zarya. And you don't necessarily need to help her by dashing him, but you can at least look at the Hog and see if there's anything to be done. I don't think you're in position to dash in and deflect the shots, to put yourself between the two, but there are definitely better things to do than chase the Tracer. So for example here, the ball feeds and you get a good punish. Now that the Tracer used dash on their backline, the Tracer did get the kill and get out, but if the Genji didn't get anything done, then I would have dashed him, try to contribute to the damage. And you're actually gonna be holding this maybe?
Group up here.
Ooh, we did get support in time. And honestly, since you already got some picks beforehand, you've dashed in that ball is fine. I really thought that you got hooked. I think that the main like mistake that you're making here is chasing the Tracer too much. She's not your priority target. The enemy, good deflect. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but good deflect. I think that it might be hard to pinpoint the let's say a priority target for you on the enemy team, but I feel like that doesn't really matter because the enemy team is making so many mistakes that you simply playing to punish them is very good. And the Tracer is very hard to punish based on mistakes because Tracer has so many survivability resources. She has a tiny model and stuff like that that you're not really suited to deal with her. So you shouldn't bother with her most of the time. And you just spamming this lane is completely fine. You're wasting time of the Moira. So even though you're not getting any damage in, the Moira is also not crossing because she's low. And yeah. Okay. You did get the kill and I do respect that you went for the combo and you hit the combo and you were at the right distance since she was low. You just have to be mindful that if you don't get the kill and that one chew, you should be wall climbing to safety here and getting back to your team. This play does incur a little more risk than ideal, but I still think that it is an opportunity that you shouldn't let it go, simply because there is some risk to it, because especially if you're confident that you're gonna hit it, then you might as well hit it, right? And you have been hitting a lot of combos this game, so I feel like an opportunity like this is not something that you let pass, and it's very good that you did try to go for the opportunity and you capitalized on it. 100% go for squishies. The times where you wanna actually farm a tank is so rare in Genji that you might as well just ignore the fact. Considering Genji a blade bot is like the biggest trap Genji players can make. So, and that's one of the main annoyances I have with the Overwatch community in general. Because players, even very high level players and players that are known for Genji, so for example, Necros on his collaboration video with CarQ spreads to millions of viewers that Genji's primary playstyle should be to farm ult charge on tanks, which just completely undermines and ignores how flexible Genji is, how many jobs he can do depending on the situation. So he can set up for assassinations, he can set up to simply deny a single player from doing anything. So dueling, for example, he's very good at dueling, he's very good at punishing players for any different kind of thing, so misusing cooldowns, mispositioning, whatever. He is very good at, he's very flexible, so he can work with a rush, he can work with bunker, he can work with dive. He's not ideal in some of those, but he works in just so many scenarios that just trying to narrow it down to such a small thing, such as you always look to farm blade on tanks, is so dumb, and it infuriates me that this kind of message has been spread so far into our community. Genji is much more than a blade bot. Just because it takes more effort to get kills outside of blade than it does with blade, doesn't mean that you should think that blade is the only way you are effective with Genji, because that is just straight up wrong. If you wanna play just for your ultimate, you might as well just play like Echo or something, because she does that job better. Like, also, why play Genji if you just wanna farm blade? Like, I don't think that blade is that fun of an ultimate. I could be wrong, but I feel like one of the most fun things about Genji is all of the thought process that you have to put into him, the dash, the deflect. The blade is interesting, but I don't know, it gets tiring fast. Well, all of the rest of his kit, I feel like is not something I will ever get tired of. So definitely, Genji as a character is not set up to kill tanks. Genji can one-shot squishes, Genji is not a character that can dish out really crazy amounts of damage into tanks in a decent amount of time. So you probably shouldn't be bothering too much with tanks. And if you ever, I mean, I don't know if, I think I have talked about it a good amount of time here, but I think if you want more of me talking about this topic, then you can just watch my Blade guide if you haven't already, because I'm pretty sure that I talk about this topic in there. But I don't think I talk to it to a very long extent, so it is a very good Blade guide, but, and I quickly mentioned this about this misconception about Blade farming and Blade botting, but I don't think it goes more in depth about what I just than what I just said. Because as you can see, this player this player has gotten a lot of value with Genji outside of Blade. Even I would argue more value outside of Blade than he did with Blade. Because 99% of the time that you're playing, you're not gonna have your ultimate. You're not gonna be ulting. So playing for such a small portion of your playtime in a match is just very dumb in my opinion. And you should be looking to optimize all you can. So getting value with your ultimate is part of that, but getting value with your base kit is also part of doing well with your character, right? And I would guess that your team holds here, yeah. Woo. Oh my god, no, 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 no. Okay, you're finally dead. I was gonna say, you should be dead way earlier. Way earlier. I think that at that point, if you're 35 HP, dashing into that many players, you should not at all be dashing that grab. Because you're gonna be contributing less than if you stay alive and you can contribute later by staying alive. And then poking with your shurikens, or if you're dealing dash through damage, or simply having your presence there instead of being dead. The fact that it took you so long to die is just because you were lucky. The one thing that I find bad about this VOD is that I don't get to take away much from it. I cannot give you like a big thing to work on. Like I commented on some stuff here and there, but I don't feel like there is like something that I can say, oh, here's what you work on next. That's like the next big topic. This was very one-sided of a match, so it doesn't point out a lot of mistakes at all because of how badly the enemy team got stomped. So I'm not gonna be getting to another one of your VODs today, but submit other ones and I'll help you with others. Ideally a loss next time. Ideally a loss instead of a win. Or at least if it's a win, not a stomp like this. A win where you're actually having to fight for it a lot. It's a close match. You feel like you did a lot of mistakes, because this one, I feel like it's mostly like, look at the cool plays I did. Which you did do a lot of cool plays, and there are some mistakes to point out, but there isn't too much to get out of this VOD. That's my personal opinion. Let me react to this. Katrina, we're gonna be getting to your VOD now. I don't know, are you on my Discord server? Like, do you have a Discord account? Or I should just narrow the question down to, do you want to join a voice call with me or not? Because if not, I'm just gonna be leaving voice. If not, I'm gonna stay in voice streaming Overwatch. So if there is gonna be no voice call, then I can just stop using some resources from my PC and just stop streaming to no audience in Discord, right? Your VOD was gold. Didn't join a voice call. That's alright, you don't have to be sorry about it. Maybe you don't feel comfortable about it, maybe you don't have a microphone, maybe you don't have a Discord account. There are so many different reasons for someone not to join a voice call that you don't need to be, or you just don't feel like it. Like, you shouldn't feel sorry about this. I feel like it is it can make this more productive, but that's about it. Like, I cannot force you into doing it, and if you don't want to do it, you don't have to feel sorry about it. So it is a gold match. On King's Row. Where is the King's Row match? I think it was this one, wasn't it? It could be wrong.
Kings ready for battle.
Yeah, it is this one. A quick play VOD. This is interesting. I would rather have competitive VODs than quick play VODs. Quick play VODs are harder for you to point out mistakes from. There's also just one round instead of two, and not only that, the matches aren't taken as seriously in quick play. But we're gonna see what we can do. Let's see if this VOD is good or not.
Defend objective A.
Yeah, all of this information is right. Don't sweat it. I'm gonna see, like, the last VOD, I didn't get to take away that much from it, but I think it still has its educational value. Oh yeah, you said you can't join the voice call, so I'm just gonna be leaving it. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do on Discord. Morning, Crazy Rabbit. Since we talked, oh, you're a Brasso? Okay. Time zone trolling. Well, you have just slept, and after I do this VOD, I'm the one that's gonna be going to sleep. It's a good thing that you didn't try to go for it, that Lucio, and you're going for that Tracer. I actually like it in this case because of how clueless your Ana is. And this is one of the main reasons why I don't like quick play VODs, because I'm pretty sure that a gold Ana doesn't actually play this position in hard scope. The point where she dies to a Tracer like this. But I could be wrong, because I have seen worse things happen in Grandmaster than this gold quick play Ana.
This is not your time. I'm under attack.
You got a little greedy with that deflect. If you didn't get healed, you would die. So I would rather have you deflect earlier and not get that many shots off, because the usual time to kill for a handler is gonna be 2 shots. So tank one of the shots, then you deflect the second one, and then ideally you get out or get healed. In this case, I also think that it is fine for you to go for the Tracer, because you're forcing her out the enemy team. You're not seeing them push anytime soon. So, and this blade ended up actually being good, but, or rather getting the kill on the Zen, but it's been 2 minutes into the match. I would have assumed that he has Transcendence. Obviously, it's fine for you to just trade your blade for Transcendence. Obviously, it's fine for you to just trade Dry Blade for Transcendence, but it's better, obviously, for you to actually be able to get a kill, although it can be very hard. There is one difference between the two. I mean, obviously there's the rank difference and there's also a platform difference. This is a console VOD and yours was a PC VOD. I think that jumping in general is bad. I don't think that jumping in general is necessarily bad for Genji as much, because his hitbox, at least up until a higher level of play, is gonna aid him into making jumping not necessarily a big mistake. But one thing that, for example, may can make a player tell, let's say, a master support from a grandmaster support is simply how much they jump. Because jumping is such a massive vulnerability, because it puts you into a predictable trajectory. So in the case of Genji, he can do a double jump so he can get out of that first predictable trajectory, but then he enters another predictable trajectory. Now you can also add the fact that he can turn the predictable trajectory into a good thing by deflecting shots that are meant to use his vulnerability. So he's reversing it on the enemy. He's making his vulnerability good by using the opportunity that any team has to land the easy shots for him to land a good shot on the enemy. So jumping is not necessarily something that is bad on Genji. It is something that you can make good because of the existence of deflects, and also to a certain extent because of the existence of dash. So if you're at the peak of your jump, which is when it starts to get really easy for the enemy to aim at you, then if you dash, then you immediately break that movement pattern that is predictable, so that you don't give the opportunity. It's the same concept as a tracer in the middle of the jump blinking to bait out the shots, because it's gonna be predictable that then she blinks before she is actually vulnerable because of the jump. So you shouldn't take things at face value like this, but jumping less can be a good thing. It's just about like knowing the matchup. So in certain matchups, jumping is gonna be good, especially if you're double jumping above them. That's a really good moment for double jumping. But let's say against snipers, if you jump and you don't use jumping to be something good for you, then you're just giving them a really good chance to one-shot you, which is dangerous. Double jumping can be good at bypassing some defenses and stuff like that, so it's always something that you have to consider. Like there are cases and there are some cases where it's good, there are some cases where it's bad. You just have to know which one is which. And also there is the fact that people just like jumping. People just liking to jump is just another thing to be considered, right? So like you're trying to jump even on the door frame where you physically cannot jump, which is funny. You choking the kill on the tracer ends up, is a little sad, but I mean you did get the kill now, but it's not necessarily like you missing those shots is like the worst thing in the world. Because the tracer is not your ideal target. Sure, she was low on cooldowns and stuff, but that's mostly not. I mean, mechanics are not something that I care that much about. I care more about game sense and whatnot. And because mechanics, it's just something that you as a player can think, okay, let me try to improve my mechanics, you know? So I'm just gonna be doing focused practice on workshops or stuff like that. Oh, your team just heart-denied. Since they didn't have transcendence, I don't remember when they used it. And this ended up being a pretty good blade. Oof. You have a mercy for res, but since two of you died, this is rough. And Anna probably has priority over res, since you're faster, if the mercy ended up choosing to res. I feel like I know what the big thing for you to improve on is gonna be. But let's see more of the match, so that we know for sure. Because I feel like no matter whether this is quick play or competitive, the way you play doesn't change that much, if at all. Like the types of play that you're trying to make, so. So for example, you trying to play very aggressively compared to you playing very passive. I don't think that's something that really is gonna change just because you're not playing competitive here and you're playing quick play.
Your support has
God, I'm tired. I mean, my body is telling me that I'm tired. What is the Lucio doing? What are they doing? I don't know. But I guess you're just farming them instead of trying to be a friendly frog, which I like. If you wanted to be friendly about stuff, then you might as well just join a friendly workshop, you know? A custom game. I never understand people that try to be mad at people that are like actually fighting in the deathmatch, because well, the deathmatch is a deathmatch. It's supposed to be somewhere a place where you warm up, where you practice your mechanics, where you actually fight people to get experience, you know? Not a place to chill, otherwise it would be called chill and kill or something like that. But it's called deathmatch. So I don't think that anyone should ever be mad, good deflect, at people not being friendly, and you just killing those players because well this is an actual match. Then yeah, this is definitely what you should be doing, like capitalizing on those opportunities. Okay, I'm gonna start talking about it now, but I have not seen you do setup for any type of solo play per se. Sometimes, I mean, you're doing some solo plays and stuff. What I mean, I guess solo play isn't the best way to say. The enemy team has had the Zen Lucio for a long time. The Lucio isn't really playing around the Zen too much. The Zen should be a priority target for you. I have not seen you really set up to try to go for him. One of the main things that you're doing is sitting back, shooting. Oh, someone is feeding. I'm gonna do it. Oh, someone is trying to take a duel. So for example, the Tracer is the one that is showing up on your screen the most. So you're dueling her the most. You're not looking for what to do. The things that maybe you could deal with are showing themselves to you, and you're deciding to deal with them. So the Tracer is showing up a lot on your screen, so you're deciding to duel her a lot. When against their comp, the highest value play that you can probably make, and the best risk reward too, is gonna be fighting the Zenyatta. Zenyatta is a good matchup for Genji. The way that the enemy team is playing allows you to go for the Zenyatta very easily. The map geometry is really good for you. So for example, if you come out of the hotel flank, that is a very easy flank for you to do to have access to the enemy backline. Setting up from the high ground to drop on the Zen. In a lot of cases, you back out and you could set up. So for example, you back out and walk this corner to wait for them to push, and then you can drop on the Zen, and if you fuck up, you always have your dash to get out. So you remove the risk from the risk reward because you set up for the play with pathing. No. I feel like you're simply autopiloting this game, and it could be autopiloting, this could also just be your playstyle, but I feel like this is something that you're gonna be also be doing in comp. I don't think it's something that matters whether or not you're in quick play or comp, because this is simply the current way that you're playing. I don't think it's necessarily try to get support kills rather than farm tanks, because I feel like you're not discriminating between tank and squishy. You're like, oh, this target is on screen, this target I shoot. Almost like a computer code. I see target, I shoot. Or obviously I don't know computer language, so I'm not gonna pretend as if this is how you would write it, right? But it's like if you detect someone on your screen that you're shooting them, and a lot of the times that are straight and you're dueling here, even though that's not necessarily the right thing to do or the best thing to do. And maybe something can be right, but it may not necessarily be as right as something else. So, for example, dueling a DPS on an off angle might be good, but Zen is and probably should always be Genji spray. So, even if there is something that you can be doing, doesn't necessarily mean that it is the best thing that you can do. And I feel like the Zenyatta in this case is a prime example of something that you could be always giving your team an opportunity to have a 65. You set up for a duel with pathing so that you have your cooldowns when you get to him. You can most of the time get the assassination off, and if you don't, you get out alive. And the times that you actually get the kill, then you're setting your team up for a 65, and then you have a pincer attack on the enemy team because you just killed the Zen on the backline, so you're gonna be able to pressure the enemy team from the backline, right? I don't think I need to dwell on this any further. I don't think it is something as simple as a binary switch like you said it is, because in some matches it's gonna be different. So it might not be the Zenyatta, for example. What you might want to do is, let's say the enemy team has a sturdy backline, but they have someone that is always on an off angle. So that is something that you can maybe think about dealing with, because a duel is something that Genji a lot of the times is good at. Or maybe the enemy team, that is also a really good example, maybe the enemy team has a player that is popping off. Let's say a Widow is popping off, a Nash is popping off, maybe Dash has a Mercy pocket. You don't necessarily need to kill that Ashe player, possibly, especially if you're going 1v2. So let's say you don't have a counter pocket. But if you contest them for a long enough time in the match to diminish their effectiveness, and also sometimes you're gonna get the kill through the pocket, sometimes you're gonna get the kill on the Mercy, but if you're doing your job properly, right, and that job doesn't necessarily need to be go for squish instead of tank. Sometimes you might actually want to contest a tank because the tank is being too eager and feeding, for example. That's a time where you want to contribute to going for a tank instead of squishy, for example. So it is more nuanced because Overwatch requires a lot of context. There is different maps, there is attack and there is defense, there is the team composition, there are ultimates, there are cooldowns. There's just so much to consider that I would never try to boil it down to go for squishes instead of tanks all the time. I feel like it all depends on context and you being able to read the context. And in this context, you trying to always go for the Zen is probably the best play that you can make. There's some other plays that can be good, and a lot of the times they have punished fitting tanks or other players, which has been good. So it's not like you should necessarily always go for the Zen, but that is something that you can always default back to. So I don't know what I should be doing. No one is giving me an opportunity to make a play. Like, no one is presenting an opportunity to me. So I could just look for the Zen. You know? Does that all make sense, or did I overcomplicate stuff?
Very well.
My servants never die.
Like, for example, that Lucio, at the start it was very fine for you to contest. The Tracer, you almost had a really good chance at one shot on her because she wasn't aware of your existence. And since the Lucio backed out, then you ignored him. Since the Tracer overstayed her welcome, you got the kill. So all of this should be taken with a grain of salt, or rather most of what I said should be taken with a grain of salt because it depends on context. And as the context changes, so does you. Genji is a very flexible hero, so you can always adapt to a lot of different situations. And this Tracer is just getting owned. I'm starting to feel sorry for this Tracer because of how often you have just absolutely demolished her. Now the other main thing that I'm gonna say is you should not be using your secondary fire at this distance. Look at how spread out your shurikens are. This is the distance where you're primary firing. Good rule of thumb is, if you want to right click, you should treat it as hit scan. So if you click, that shot has to land on your target. There should be no predictions on a right click. That obviously isn't gonna always be the case. There are some times where your target is big enough where you can right click at mid range and that's more effective than left click. But I'm saying a good general rule of thumb is that you should be treating your secondary fire as hit scan. So in this case, since they are so far away, you're not gonna be able to treat your secondary fire as hit scan, right? So you should be using your primary fire here to try to line up shots on the Zenyatta, and after that on the Hog or the Sombra if she decides to peek. Because right now it's like you have the intention of poking the enemy team out, which is good because you're not in the distance and you're not set up to actually make a play with dash or be close to the enemy to be setting up for secondary fires, but you're not putting thought into actually landing those shots, or even which type of shooting you should be using, primary fire versus secondary fire. And obviously this is quick play instead of competitive, so I'm not really gonna be blaming you for this, and I cannot blame your Ana for using this nano. Not gonna judge this. But if this was competitive, this would have been really bad, but maybe the Ana and also you just used your ultimates to meme. Now, this is one moment where, okay, you contesting the Tracer here is a good idea, but this is also a moment where I already talked about this in previous VODs a lot today, but downtime could be something that you use to set up, so you just cleaned up a fight, set up, let's say, in the high road here or in this corner sneakily to be able to duel the Zenyatta on the back when he is unaware, maybe get the assassination and you're back at your team, having that advantage. In this case, you didn't really lose uptime because you immediately looked for the Tracer that was trying to flank. But you can also just look for the Zen like I talked about before, but in this case, you didn't actually have downtime where you didn't think about doing anything. You had downtime where you thought to look for the Tracer. And now here's some downtime where you're not even poking at the enemy. And this poke is basically meaningless. Now it is a time where you should be setting up instead. Trying to be greedy with positions because you have the time to look for it.
Right beside you. You look like you needed help, Genji.
10 seconds remaining.
Kind of running out.
Like, this is good, trying to contest the Tracer. I would not have used the melee because I was half health. If I wasn't at half health, I would be using the melee because I would think it would be very unlikely for her to actually get to a full clip onto me in the time that I was meleeing and couldn't deflect. But yeah, since if I was half HP, I wouldn't melee her and would shoot and deflect. And this ends up being a really good blade, but I also feel like this blade was sponsored by Quick Play. So the Mei not using her cryo, for example, is the start of your blade snowball. And this, even though this is Quick Play VOD, this ended up having more educational value. I feel like that the other competitive VOD that was a stomp. With that being said, I would rather have close matches in competitive, and losses are usually easier, but to have educational value. But if it's a win that is very close, that's also okay. Not necessarily like you need to always show losses. I feel some people might feel uncomfortable sharing losses, but I feel like the big takeaway from this match is simply putting more thoughts into your thought process, into your target priority, instead of just defaulting to what you were seeing on the screen. And honestly, a lot of the times where I went for the Tracer were good, especially on the third point where you were denying her a flank, because you saw that she was going for it and you also had the jump on her, so that was two main good reasons to contest her. But I feel like working on your target priority is probably gonna be the biggest thing for you. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask them. Same thing as I've said to all of the other people. Discord is always a good place, but if you don't have Discord or whatever, then you can always just ask them those questions here on live streams when I do them. Let me see. Yeah, the next live stream that I scheduled was for Friday. But I don't know, I might do a stream before. Maybe I'll do simply play Overwatch, I don't know, and have a time to answer questions that people have. Or maybe we'll have another VOD review day, who knows. I might not necessarily take 3 days off streaming, but I possibly will. Because I have videos to work on, like I have one thumbnail to make, I have a full video to edit, plus a half an video to edit, so... And outside of that I have a bunch of other stuff to do, so... some of it having to do with college. So I will... If there is spare time, I will stream before Friday, but that's not something that you should be expecting. But yeah, let me swap this back to my SR peak. And we did it! We did 6 VOD reviews today! And I don't feel bad, like... I think it was a good decision for me to split the stream between 2 parts, so that I don't do 6 VOD reviews, so like let's close to 6 hours, probably more than 6 hours in a row of me talking. But yeah, anyways, I'm not gonna be taking long, I'm just gonna be heading to sleep now, enjoying a good night of rest, and I hope you all do too, and I hope you all enjoy the VOD reviews. Have a good one, everyone, and I will see you all in the next time. Bye bye.